Now I want to bring in our panel. We've got Gina Loudenbach along with Ford and Sheriff Paul Babu. Sheriff Babu, let me start with you. Yeah, I mean, you and I have had this conversation so many times on how hard it is for law enforcement to do their jobs. But one of the ironies is more recently you've got law enforcement saying they don't want to even do this kind of stuff. Texas is in the middle of a lawsuit right now because they just simply want law enforcement to hold these folks once they get them in their possession.
Well, that's the part of the problem. The sanctuary leaders or sanctuary jurisdictions, that's got to end. The law is the law. And when it comes to immigration, especially law enforcement, you can't pick and choose which laws we're going to enforce. This is in their interest, in the interest of the safety, the public safety of the citizens that they're sworn to protect. And so with these recent bills before Congress that should be voted on tomorrow, you're going to have the Congress now passing a law, so it's no longer just a threat from DOJ and Homeland Security that, hey, we may take your grants of funding for local jurisdictions. Now it's a law that will be signed by our president, so the potential legal challenge are far less. And this will have real teeth to force them to do their job, to enforce the law.
Gina, this kid, Grant Roenbeck, he worked at the Quick Trip since he was 16 years old. It was probably going to be his career, but him and his friends are on the verge of buying their first house. They were planning to be into real estate. They wanted to flip them, rent them out. Bold, great ambition, slain right there as he was beginning his life. My son is 20. You've got children. This is amazing that Americans allow this to happen in our country.
Shocking. And it's really shocking to me, frankly, as a San Diegan and a Californian, how my state is handling this as we watch things like this happen. You know, as Mr. Roenbeck mentioned, and gosh, our hearts and prayers go out to him and his family and the 63,000 victims that he mentioned. But Charles, those are just the victims of murder. I hear every day stories from my neighbors and friends right here on the border of Mexico who tell me about rapes, about hit and runs, about kidnappings. You know, this is the kidnapping capital of the world here. And so the fact that there will be recourse for these families through the strengthening of this code that we're looking at, this U.S. federal code, the fact that there will be actionable cause is something that really states like California better take a look at.
To Gina's point, there are 500 jurisdictions across this country that qualify as sanctuary cities, Charles. And we have to overcome the stigma that basically stopping illegal immigration is somehow racist, when in fact it is practical and necessary. And kudos to Donald John Trump for standing up for people like Grant, because the job of the president is to protect her citizens and this country. And somehow, because of the Democrats and the mainstream media, we have forgotten our duty to our own citizens and our own naturalized aliens, and it's downright abominable.
So, Paul, what do you...
Charles?
Yeah, it's good, Gina.
Charles, to Ford's point, just to add to that, anyone who calls this racist isn't reading the facts, because most of these crimes are perpetrated on legal immigrants that are minorities. So there's nothing racist about this, quite the contrary.
Yeah, I mean, they actually hold those very neighborhoods hostage. We all know that. And Paul, there are going to be cities that, even after tomorrow, if these bills are successful, sanctuary cities that are going to push back.
Absolutely, to the demise of the public safety, but there's going to be a penalty. No, you will not get federal grants from the Department of Justice or Homeland Security, and we shouldn't have to use a carrot or a stick in this case to be punitive with these jurisdictions. This is the law of the land, and so we're going to restore order. President Trump has followed through on promises that most of the time we never believe politicians will ever follow through on. He's actually doing it, and he's putting Americans, our citizens, first, and that's what we want in law enforcement. That's our job, is to protect the people.
And Charles, if you want to correct that bad behavior, you've got to take away the incentive. It's a basic economic principle. As long as we hang that incentive out there that we're going to fund sanctuary cities, this is going to continue unabated, my friend.
There's no bigger red carpet or welcome sign than a sanctuary city out there, and it's people who push them. I don't know. Initially, might have thought it was a good idea. They should hold their heads in shame now. Thank you all very much.